I'm back already.
Ah, she's back. Okay. Oh, I might want to put you guys up there. Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. Matt Geary for Geek Pride on the Geek Pride cast. Our first of 2018. We have a cavalcade, a murder of geeks. I'm not sure what a collective of geeks is called. A gaggle of geeks with us tonight. First off, we've got Geek Pride Norms, John Joe Cosgrove.
Hello.
Daniel Delargy.
Hello.
G to the Izzy, Julietta.
Hi.
And back again, we've got Gary.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm
Wow.
a very disappointing start to 2018.
Aww. Okay, so everybody who's watching this, as always, if you have anything you want to talk to us about, please put it in the comments sections below. We're on YouTube, Twitch, and on Facebook. Currently, my chat bot thing's not working, so, if we're not answering you, it's maybe because of that, but hopefully we'll get it sorted as we go along. But while I'm sorting that out, does anybody want to start us off with what they have... what they've been doing over the last month?
Oh.
Do we want to leave Gary to last? Because I feel that would lead into a larger conversation.
Yes, we'll wait for Gary to do the Gary last.
I'm good with that.
Go on, John Joe. What have you been up to?
I've been making the most of the Nintendo Switch, especially over Christmas. Been getting into games that I hadn't played yet. So, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, a fantastic game, but with some really, really bad voice acting. So, if I have one recommendation, make sure you play it in Japanese dub. Also, as well, as we found out from Nintendo, yes,
You're breaking up there, John
sell
Joe.
you cardboard. I'm going. No.
John Joe, you're
Am I
breaking
back?
up. You're breaking up. You may have to go sans video to make sure your
Oh no!
your video's
Okay.
all good.
I'm gone.
I know.
Is
It was. I know all the girls are going to be absolutely mortified now, man. That's half of our reader.
More viewers now that I'm gone. As I told you before, I have been told I have a face for radio. So there you go.
Right.
Oh.
Oh no.
It's even worse that I've been told that by my friends. So there you go.
I'd be more
okay.
afraid if you were getting told by your girlfriend, to be honest. So.
Oh no, she says worse things about me than that. So am I heard now? Am I good?
Yes, you are good. Yes.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah, so Nintendo basically yesterday made the announcement that they can literally sell you cardboard and you're going to buy it.
Mate, I fucking love that. That's amazing. I honestly, do you know what? I have zero interest in Nintendo. Literally, I was a Sega boy from like the 90s. Like I pinned my flag to that mast and I was all about Sega. And I saw that today and I went, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And do you know what really excited me? That you could colour it in. They can literally sell me cardboard and I'll pay money for it.
I like. Do you know what really got me is that piano. The piano bit. I just thought, my God, that is fucking awesome. But at the same time, it's cardboard. This is such a simple idea, but it looks so good.
I'm glad you think it's good because I think it is. I think it's quite.
And I want it. I shouldn't do, but I really want it.
It's quite novel. I imagine you pay more for the games and the cardboard either comes with it or you can print it off online. So
That'd be pretty.
I doubt they'd make you pay for something you can probably sit on and...
No, they're going to send a game card. It will be on a card, but I think they do send you the sheets to basically make it yourself. Like pop out.
They've got to be prepared for either spares or replacements. That's, but it looks fun.
But didn't they say that they would actually be giving away cardboard for free afterwards and stuff, so you wouldn't have to keep on coming back. And
just
buying...
go into game and just pick a couple of them up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I get another one? Can I get another one of your pianos? Yeah, mate. I'll go and grab it for you out the back.
Okay, Julietta, what have you been up to?
Oh my god, this is probably one of the weirdest stories I'll ever tell. So basically, for the past few days, we've been hearing some pretty strange noises in the loft. So I'm thinking, okay, we've probably got rats, so we need to get this sorted. Last night I only had about 3 hours sleep because it was so chuffing noisy. And I mean, literally, Josh had to come sleep downstairs. It was that noisy. And so yeah, we've had the council round, and it turns out we've got squirrels.
Wow!
I know, squirrels. But the thing is, though, what makes it absolutely just the worst thing in the world? I mean, like, it's quite comical that it's squirrels and it's not like, I don't know, rats or whatever. But you can't capture squirrels and like put them back in the wild. You have to kill them. Which,
Really? Why is that?
yeah, it's actually against the law to do it. And like I said to the guys, I was like, how do you get rid of them? And he was like, oh, we use a trap and snap their backs. And I was like, oh my god. And he was like, yeah, but there's nothing we can do about it because it's against the law and you'll get fined £1,000 per squirrel that you release. So it's like, oh great, so I'm just going to be a squirrel murderer basically.
Squirrel genocide.
Yeah, it's
Oh
horrible.
my god.
Hey, if we learned anything from Rick and Morty, you don't mess with squirrels.
That is very true. Yeah.
They are so noisy. I've never experienced anything quite like it before. Like, I actually kind of hate them now because they're that noisy. But
Do you know what? Do you know what's amazing? Right? Talking about most people get rats or mice or something like that, and you got squirrels. Well, there's a guy we know called Paul Gibson. He used to do a podcast called the Game Overcast, and he's proper posh, and he's from a posh area in Manchester, and his family's obviously quite posh as well. And he was telling us, he was telling us how that he didn't have his mom didn't have squirrels, she didn't have rats, she didn't have mice, she had peacocks in her house. They had peacocks.
oh my god.
They had an infestation of peacocks, and I was like, dude, that is so upper class. I've never seriously, what's going on? So
How
it's
do you
What
get
do
an
you have?
infestation of peacocks? Like, is one peacock not the trigger point? You go, we might have a problem here.
Well, apparently there's loads. He said he just had loads of peacocks running around his mum's house, and I was just like, "What the fuck, man? That's insane."
I can imagine it's something like the Hot Fuzz scenario where they've lost the swan. It's just, but it's inside this guy's house.
What was the point where he kind of reached where he went, you know what, I think we may have a problem now? Like,
It's like, wow, this is cool. Well, yeah, that's amazing. I just thought this tickled me so much. Okay, Daniel, what are you been up to, man?
Well, over Christmas, I have two sisters who have birthdays, and so preparing and getting those presents, and it was very nice. Both of them turned 16 and 18, so big parties for them, and they all loved it. Also, Christmas around the same time, and I'm actually kind of glad that Mike's not on this on this episode because I kind of owe Konami one, and it's just weird. I entered a competition over before Christmas, and I won one of these.
What did you win?
I won a competition.
Yeah, but what did you win from the competition?
Oh, well, that's
I know.
the thing.
I'm not interested in what you.
That's the
you know.
thing. Originally, I won. Originally, they said, "Okay, mate, we'll get you Metal Gear Solid 5. Just tell us what console you have." And I'm like, I don't have I don't have a current gen console. Bugger. So I explained to the guy. Sorry to say, I don't have a current gen console. I know there are terms and conditions on it where we can't swap out prizes, but because it was Christmas, they said, okay, what do you have? And so they ended up getting me the Metal Gear Solid HD collection for my Xbox 360, as well as the Art of the HD collection. So I've been thumbing through that over the past month because I love art books and I love the art for Metal Gear. It's very sketchy and fantastic. It's only 2, 3, and Peace Walker though. They didn't have the original. because I think at the time of the when they did the HD collection, they didn't actually have the rights to the first one for some weird reason.
Yep.
And then it was only sort of like they did a re-release later on, but that was only for the PlayStation 3. But yeah, so I've got Metal Gear to work through and a really nice art book that I've been. But it's not as exciting as a Squirrel Infestation.
Or a peacock one.
I think I would prefer the art books, if I'm honest with you.
An art book infestation.
Yeah. Oh, God,
That would be my dream come true.
Okay, and finally, Gary, what have you been up to?
Oh yeah, that's a whole thing in itself.
Yes, yes it is.
Yeah, I started trying to make this fan film that was a ludicrous endeavor that's been in my head for like, when did The Force Awakens come out now? Because it seems so long ago.
It's like 2 years ago now, isn't it? Over 2 years.
Over 2 years.
3, yeah. So yeah, like literally something that's been in my head since I walked out the theater after watching that film the first time, and I've sat on it until now. Like.
So why now? Why did it decide this was the moment that you were going to do it?
Well, because I guess with making stuff on Sneaky Zebra, there's kind of been this like part of me that goes, I really wanted to make this when I came up with the idea, and I was like, but I'm not sure if I can pull it off. Like I didn't feel like comfortable enough having made stuff. So over the past like year or so, we've been making a lot more. Like Prop Wars came out. Obviously, Prop Wars we originally started before The Force Awakens came out. Shockingly. So we were going to have crossguard lightsabers in it before they showed up in the film, but we just took so long to make the damn thing that the film had come out 6 months beforehand. But like building up all these like projects, I kind of got to a point where I was like, I feel comfortable now that I can pull this off. Like I've worked on this, a bunch of TV stuff. I worked on a web series with Jack and Dean. And I kind of reached a point where I was like, I feel pretty good about this. Like I can do this now, and I sat down and planned it all out. Gary,
can I just stop you there for 1 minute? Daniel, stop typing on your bloody computer. It's always you.
Sorry, I was just sharing.
Yeah, all we're getting is Gary trying to tell us an interesting story, and
I thought it was a great soundtrack.
I thought it was like like the language service. Like you have someone normally doing sign language. I thought that was like keyboard talk.
Anyway, carry on, Gary.
Yeah, basically, I just kind of reached a point where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do this. Like, this is achievable now. Like, I'd gone through, like, pitched this idea around to a bunch of people as well, because I was like, I'm not crazy. Like, this is a good idea, right? Like, you'd watch this, because I had so many questions in my head of like, am I the only person that thinks this is going to be a good idea? And then since the project went on Indiegogo, it turns out I'm not.
So what's
a ton of people are really game.
What's the score of this? Because I remember like ages ago, you guys tried to do, before Luke Cage came out, you guys wanted to do a Luke Cage fan film, and it didn't come through because of licensing issues and stuff like that. What's the score with Star Wars and Disney and things? Are they a bit more lenient when it comes to that sort of thing?
The weird part with the Luke Cage one is I don't go into huge amounts of detail, but obviously like we were making it, and then we've been working on it because we raised stuff for it. We've been working on about 6-7 months of like trying to get locations and stuff all organized, because we were trying to find somewhere to do prison stuff in and stuff like that. Like Marvel kind of hit us with a cease and desist and went, yeah, we have a feeling this might be too professional, and we have some interest in this IP. And then like 2 months later announced that Netflix was making a Luke Cage series. It's like, oh well, shit, we were too quick on that one there with the idea. So the good thing with Star Wars, on the one hand, it's kind of like an awesome back end. It's like, oh, we thought, oh, no one's going to make a movie of Luke Cage, so we'll make a web show, and then that's pretty much what they did, except for with a ton more money and way better. The odd part was the guy that we tried to approach to cast as Luke Cage, because we were trying to wrangle some more money, is the guy they actually cast as Luke Cage. Because I saw him in the Halo Nightfall, I think it was, like trailer, and I was like, that guy should be Luke Cage, and then he ended up being Luke Cage. So we were kind of on the money for a good amount of stuff on that one. But Star Wars has always been way more fan friendly for stuff like this. Like Lucasfilm run fan film contests, and they've been doing them since about 2005. And like J.J. Abrams was a judge on the last one, which was like 2016. They kind of did one. They kind of time them out to Celebration now. So whenever there's like US celebrations where big films are released, they'll, promote them with a fan film. So they're pretty good. And they have, obviously there was the whole Star Trek fan film issue that came up last year where someone raised like $1 million and Paramount were having none of that because they were essentially paying themselves to make the thing. So, there's all these rules in place. And that's why it's, you always got to keep the amount you try to raise low because you can't make money from it. At the end of the day, what you're doing is making something to go, I have this little piece of the Star Wars universe I want to tell. I hope people want to see it, and I don't want to ask too much of you, but we can't make money from it. Everything has to go back into you're making the best thing possible. So it's a lot easier of an environment, and there's so much, I guess, bigger. I don't want to say bigger fandom in that thing, but obviously it's a world where there's the 501st. Here's a group of fans that are officially brought to events and stuff. So it's kind of a nice fan-sensitive environment at the moment, and Disney have still kept that going since they took over. So it's been pretty good for everybody making stuff.
Have you taken any inspiration from other Star Wars fan films, and just sort of like gone like the props they've used? You've taken an artistic inspiration from those, or have you stuck completely to complete canon sources?
I tried to stick close to canon and then come up with my own stuff. But I guess the big thing for me is I wanted it to definitely feel like it was part of this is going to be part of the Star Wars universe, and also be its own thing, obviously, but not trying to like seed it into a fan film MCU, as it were. Which someone should do someday.
So give us the breakdown then. So what is it? What's the storyline behind it?
The storyline is about this group of I'll call them smugglers. They're essentially smugglers. They just call themselves treasure hunters. So imagine, if you will, Indiana Jones trying to make a profit. Of this group of guys who go around the galaxy finding relics and then trying to make a profit from them and sell them to the highest bidder. And then they get hired for this job that they aren't sure exactly who hired them, but the item they steal is on the forest moon of Endor. And then whenever they essentially start figuring out the situation they've got themselves into, everything turns pretty south pretty quick, because obviously the item is Darth Vader's helmet, and the person who wants it is Kylo Ren. So it's never really going to go too well.
That sounds that's rather interesting. And you are 90%?
94.
Yeah.
Whoa, 94%.
It's kind of insane. Like, it's still got over a month to go. So I kind of, obviously calling in lots of favors and doing a lot of stuff myself on it and trying to keep everything down low, because I was like, I really want to make this thing, but I don't want to ask too much of people. And I was like, and also there's a good chance in my head I was like, people might not like take to this idea straight away. Maybe once I've made the thing, a lot of people would go, oh, I like this idea, but it's just been really well received thus far, to obviously the point where I like my structure of where I thought it was going to go by this point. It's like, oh, we may have raised about $200 by this point, maybe $300 based on past Indiegogos of friends, and it's kind of just been insanely well received. And the amount of people that I've had message that go, oh, as soon as payday comes, I want to donate to this. And I'm like, I don't even know how to react to like how positive people have been about wanting to see this thing come to life.
So what happens? Like, so you said you got a month to go. So what happens if you overstretch it and stuff? Because you were saying about, obviously it can't be too big, because then they might put the kibosh on it. Do you have to stop it there, or have you got like an upper limit where you're kind of saying, right, we could probably get away with that?
There's certain upper limits. Like, I don't expect to ever get anywhere near those. Like, the ones that they've set in place, this is how insane it is, because that Star Trek one, that like the rules that have become kind of the mainstay thing across most fan films is you can't raise more than $50,000, which is an insane amount of money. Like,
Yeah.
I read that and I was like, well, that's not a problem.
Famous,
I'm never gonna.
famous last words, Gary. We'll talk to you next month. You go, it just got out of control. We got $1 million. We got $1 million.
Well, it's kind of been the weird thing because as like more people kind of like the idea, I kind of started going, oh well, maybe there's like, and people were asking me about the characters in it and like certain things like that. I was like, oh well, maybe like that's the baseline to tell like a version of this story. Like I want, so obviously like stretch goals is obviously a big thing on everybody's Indiegogo, and then I kind of came up with this whole other little side story part. I was like, oh, this would be great. Like, see if I can develop this. So I've been dealing with a couple of set builder guys and stuff. For some stuff on that and trying to figure out if there's, you know, how much it would cost extra to do this other part of it. But obviously, I guess the one thing is obviously you don't want to raise too much money. And the other thing is like, if you raise money, you have to make sure that, you know, it goes back into making the thing better. So, you know, anything that goes over that just winds up making a better product at the end of the day. Because, I mean, mathematically speaking, it's like, we're raising 0.002% of what like Rogue One cost. So it's like whenever anyone goes, oh, it's going to be like Rogue One, I was like, that was $200 million. Like, yeah. This is like the catering budget for like a day on that film.
We got Kapamaru 78 on Twitch saying, "Hey people, and are you making a movie?" Yes, Gary is making a movie. He's a movie sort of guy. And if you
that actually sort of like links into a question I wanted to ask. How long do you want this short film to be? Because obviously they do range between like 5, 10, 15 minutes, but with sort of like the material that you've seemed to sort of like be talking about, because obviously you don't want to talk about all of it just yet, but it seems like you have quite a substantial amount of content there that could easily fill over 15 minutes, possibly half an hour.
At the moment, it's kind of aiming for around 10 minutes of as a short is my kind of goal. If it kind of goes either way of that, the one downside with me is because I work as an editor, I got given the nickname on one job of Scissor Hands because I just cut the crap out of stuff. So like I could be my own devil at certain times. Where like there's been times where I'll shoot like various comedy sketches or whatnot, and we'll shoot like 3 scenes. And I'll be like, the whole comedy sketch it was 8 pages. Yeah, like I've cut it down, so if we rewrote it, it would be 3 pages. Like it still works. So there'll be, you know, a lot of, I'm kind of being very economical with like the timing of it, and especially with, it's that thing of trying to, whenever I was figuring out how much we're raising versus how much gets stretched out across the screens, is like there's a larger version of it that I'd love to tell, but obviously that becomes way more expensive, and it's like, it's that thing of like making a really awesome 10-minute short or making a really stretched out 30 minutes where the budget's kind of, it doesn't look as good or anything like that because you have to compromise on certain costings. Obviously because it's a fan film, you can't pay, people can't earn money from it. So everybody who's doing stuff on it is doing it out of their own time. So there's also that factor where I don't want to, I think everybody that's volunteered to do it is like, I don't want to take the piss. Like if you can just say no, like at any point, like even though you've come to me and said it, like you can, I'm not gonna, you know, be a dick about this. And like, there's been some insane stuff that people have kind of thrown up to it, and like including like some people going, oh, you know, if you guys want, you know, armor for this thing, like you can have armor, and it's gone, oh, okay, so we can borrow armor. It's like, no, you can have. It's like, or you know, like, oh, you need this, like you want some. Because I kept going on about practical effects in it. One guy I know is building a motion control rig, and he does model work. So he was like, oh well, you know, we could try and do it with practical models. I was like, wait, what? He goes, yeah, we could build this shuttle and like try and, you know, obviously you shoot it on thing and we can motion track it and put that data in and try and replicate that and then put it all together. And I'm like, I can't, even if it doesn't work, I kind of just want to try. Because I just want as many practical things in this as possible, because you know, I think like growing up on Star Wars, like you watch like 4, 5, and 6. There's so much real stuff in there, and you feel like you can touch everything. Obviously, because you couldn't in the prequels, because you know even the actors looked like they were made from green screen. So that's the thing I wanted to like make sure that it kind of felt like. It's like I don't mind it feeling, as long as it has that like old school vibe to it. I like that a lot more than it looking new and clean and like digital, which is what a lot of fan films do, because obviously everybody online uses After Effects and everything like that, which I do as well. But like I'm like, oh, I'd love to try and avoid doing that. Like, can we do a practical fireball? Well, yes, we've done tests with it, and we can do it. And can we do this? Like, yeah, then we'll make practical aliens instead of it being, you know, the other fan film trope. If you watch any Star Wars fan film, it's usually like 5 white people in the desert. And the thing is, like, just paint someone green. Like, even that would would help just a tiny amount on the alien races here.
Oh man!
And this is from a filmmaker as well. Just paint him green.
Yeah,
that's not like my big solution, but I'm like, if you're trying to like cut corners,
an option as well.
It's like,
yeah, blue, go to town. Like,
Nick's all like, I just don't know if I've got this shot right. Have you painted him green? There we go.
I mean, it's not a great fix, but I mean, if you're kind of like making this thing kind of skimping on not skimping on it, you can't afford a lot anyway. It's like just trying, like, I don't mean just literally paint them green. Obviously, you can put some other like makeup effects on. Like, there's enough tutorials online that you can find how to do certain simple races from Star Wars. Like, it doesn't have to be like, let's make Darth Maul, but like, there's a certain amount of like wiggle room on what you can pull off on a budget with, you know, a little bit of time. But there's so many of them that are just like, I grabbed my buddies, we got some leather jackets and some spray paint, and we went out to the desert and we made this fan film. And there's been a few where I've watched and they're like, oh, we raised 25 grand to make this thing. And I'm like, where was the 25 grand?
Yeah. Have you got any sort of fan films you've seen and gone, that's one of the ones I want to be able to be that good. That's the sort of fan film I want to do.
It's kind of weird because there's a lot of fan films that, like, whenever I first started trying to make films, the first thing I ever tried to make was I've never ever finished. I shot about a quarter of it. I wanted to make a Ghostbusters fan film at one point.
Wow.
And that was, I wrote a script. I bought a video camera. I spent like £5,000 on a video camera for it, and was just trying to do it with my friends. I still have footage stored. This was like 2006. It's awful. But it was like the thing that then made me realize, no, I actually want to go off and, you know, do this properly and like learn to do this and go off and be in the film industry. But like around that time, there were so many fan films kind of cropping up, and it was kind of like YouTube was very new, so there was this great delivery system of, you know, all these fan films, and like there's a few older ones that are just so big in scale of what they had pulled off. Like some of them built like whole sets of like the Millennium Falcon, like sections of it, of actual sets being built. And it's like, you guys just have too much. Like, I don't understand how you've done this. Like, this is, at the time even, like watching some of them back now, whenever I started working on this, where I kind of went on a nostalgia trip, it's amazing how much, like, if you have something that other fans that like something as much as you know, they like it as well, the amount you can pull off is incredible. And like I've worked on like various other like fan films. Like I worked on one called Return of the Ghostbusters, which is my buddy Hank's film. I did some artwork stuff for that. And Ryan versus Dorkman and stuff like that. So these lightsaber fights. There's lots of like awesome fan stuff out there. But yeah, there's too many that pop into my head where I'm like, oh, I really like this and I really like that. Even the one that started the Star Trek debacle was Star Trek Axanar, which is worth checking out because it's friggin' awesome. But I can see why it got taken down by Paramount, because the plot of it is pretty much the same plot as Star Trek Discovery a little bit.
Right, okay.
And they brought it out like a year before.
Yeah.
There's a couple I quite like. There's one of the more recent ones, which is I can't remember the name of it, but it's where Darth Maul fighting.
The
like
Apprentice or whatever.
That was amazing, absolutely amazing. Loved it.
That was that one there, hands down. I think that might have actually been. There was that and another fan film. Was the point where I kind of sparked in my brain, like, no, I could like wrangle enough people together to do that. Because my big fear of fan films has been, because whenever I first started out, it was literally just me.
Yeah.
So like no one else knew how to do anything. So it was like I had a camera and a microphone, so I would have to like camera operate whilst boom operating whilst being in it, which is impossible. So you're kind of like setting up a shot and then stepping into it and then filming. And it was, you know, it's always been this constant like phobia of like, okay. And then I kind of realized like now I was like, no, I know tons of people and tons of awesome other nerds who, you know, want to help out and stuff and like make cool stuff. So like I don't have to worry about that aspect anymore.
All right, cool. There's another one. I can't again. My name thinking with names is horrible, but it's basically about it's about two people, a girlfriend and a boyfriend, and he goes off to join the Imperial Army, and it's about his journey through the Imperial Army, and it's taken from the side of an Imperial soldier, and you know how the rebels are bad and how, you know, he's fighting for the Empire and things like that. And it's got a really good twist at the end. Not the best sort of production-wise and stuff. It could be better, but for the storyline and having it literally on the side of the Empire for once, thought it was amazing. Really good. Really good.
There's another one that came out like a year or two ago that was pretty cool. The idea of it as well was it was such an awesome Star Wars. I wish I remembered the names of any of these. I feel terrible. But it was
the Darth
idea.
Maul one's called Apprentice.
Yes, some Sith Apprentice or something like that. Yeah. That one there is so damn good. But there was another one. It was about like the survivors after the Jedi were wiped out, and like a guy pretends to be a Jedi to you know, invoke rebellion on the planet. And it was a really fun idea because it was like, oh, this seems like something that would be in Star Wars. Like people would Jedi, and like he showed up like dressed slightly as a ghostly figure and like cut down some stormtroopers, and then like the rumor spread, which essentially is what happens at the I mean, you've seen The Last Jedi, right?
Yeah. We can talk about that later.
Telling the story. Oh yeah. But I think the last time you had me on, it ended with you going, I need to talk to you about Rogue One, and that was the end of it.
Yes, that's right. We never got to talk about Rogue One. It's like, what are we going to do, guys? Because it's literally going to have to be Rogue One, the most. All right. Well, we've got some comments here, and then we'll go back. So we've got. And I'm going to pronounce the name properly this time round. Where are we? Kapamaru, or Kabamaru. I'm really horrible. I'm bastardizing.
Sound it out. Sound it out.
Kapamaru 78 from Greece. Hello from Greece. Is telling me off for scratching my beard with a screwdriver, and says he knows a producer in LA. So okay, brilliant, very good.
They can scratch the beard for you.
Yeah, they can scratch the beard for me.
Yeah,
she's telling me, or she. I don't know if it's a he or a she.
They just stick with they.
I'm just there digging. Told me to stop it, so we're just gonna stop it now and move on.
Now you need some merchandise that's just a Geek Pride screwdriver that's just for scratching beards.
Yes, that's it. We should put it white and red. The Geek Pride screwdriver, beard scratcher. See, I'm
Either that or just make it just as the podcasts go on, just more and more ridiculous. Like the Y-ring just pops up and rubs against.
I'm currently stealth bearding at this moment in time because my missus isn't very keen on the whole beard action stuff. You know, when I first met her, I had a bit of a tash and a bit of a sort of thing, you know, line going down here. But I'm sort of kind of doing the I forgot to shave, god damn it, sort of thing, and just sort of seeing how far I can go before she kicks my ass. So I'm just going to kind of keep on going.
Hold you down and just shaves you.
She's like, no, because she's got a guy.
I can't use my screwdriver anymore.
Kapamaru 78 is a he. Very good. Okay, there we go. Okay, right. So let's get on to it. We'll talk about The Last Jedi because Rogue One was the best Star Wars film that's ever been made. So that's okay. We don't need to discuss that anymore. We don't need to discuss that. We don't need to discuss that anymore, Gary. Okay, so moving on. The Last Jedi, right? So we'll go through it, and we'll have a brief sort of what you thought about it. Maybe give it a rating. So John Joe, what did you think and give us a rating.
The Last Jedi, I understand a lot of people's criticisms, but for me, this was the Star Wars movie I wanted to see when Disney took over it. It was great. There was a lot of action. The only thing, very mild spoiler, the only thing I think is that it lacked, for me, a proper lightsaber duel. Apart from that, brilliant Star Wars film, and for me, my second favourite Star Wars film ever.
After Rogue One. Okay.
Oh,
Brilliant.
no,
Okay.
way.
So, what are you going to give it out of 5?
Out of 5, 4.5.
Really? 4.5? Wow.
About
Very good. All right. Okay. Oh, right. I'm afraid Capra Maru has told me that Rogue One sucks. You can leave. You can leave the chat room right now.
Rogue One.
Get out. Banned.
It's all right. It's okay. All right.
Okay, Daniel. What about you?
I went to see it with the family, and we all came out of it going, well, we'd all heard, we went to see it quite late, so we had heard all these sort of like decisive things. My sister was like, oh, I've heard it's not that good. We all came out of it thinking, it wasn't as bad as everyone's going on about. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I had heard sort of like all the newsy bits of like Mark Hamill saying that it wasn't the character he envisioned. But then I also read later that in the same interview, he went on to say that he completely agreed with the sort of like Luke character, because they didn't want to do the old wizened, wise Jedi Master again. So I came out of it enjoying it. I really liked it. Rest of my family did. It was definitely different, which I think is good. Especially sort of like since the last one, a lot of the complaints, which I kind of understood, is that it basically looked like a retreading of A New Hope.
Well, Force Awakens did.
Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Force Awakens, yeah. And so I thought this was an interest. I'm interested to see what they're going to do in the third one, because the First Order still around, still a threat. The Rebellion still, they're kind of on their last legs, but still fighting. And there's still sort of like the legacy. So I liked what they did with it. I liked.
Okay, give us a score then. What do you think, score-wise?
Out of 5, I'd say 4.
Oh, okay. Okay, Julietta, what about you?
I've not seen it, so I'm gonna have to just step back a little bit. And,
we don't want to ruin it for. Oh, we'll try not to go into too any major spoilers for you then.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then Gary, go on then.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I preferred The Force Awakens as an overall film, mainly because that film felt like everything in it had to happen in order for it to get from A to Z. The Last Jedi has at least one plot thread that, as an editor, I kind of sat there and came out and I could cut that out of the film and you would never notice, and it would cut about 40 minutes out of this film, and the plot would not change.
Would that be them going off to that planet?
Canto Bight, is basically they're just so poor John Boyega has something to do. For a lot of it. And there was a couple of characters that were a bit misplaced, and there was some legacy characters that I'm very upset about their fates in this, especially Admiral Akbar is my homeboy.
Yeah.
The meme machine.
Okay, and what about Mary Poppins Leia? What did you think about Mary Poppins Leia?
I love that.
Really?
I had no issue with that. It basically shows that the Force is something that even after 40 years in the cinema, we still don't understand it, and I think that's good to have something that's still.
Bollocks! It's bollocks! That was just like, what the fuck was that? What was that?
It shows me that technically Leia is probably was more powerful Jedi than Luke was.
But she hasn't trained. She had zero training. How the fuck did she do that?
Neither did Anakin.
Midichlorians, man. She got them
midichlorians.
Bollocks.
It only could have been improved if she'd opened the door whenever she got back in and just turned around and said, "Now this is pod racing," and then passed out.
Oh, amazing. All right, then. How would you score it then, Gary? Where are you gonna get it?
I did a list of my thing. It was my 5th favorite Star Wars film, which is it's pretty good considering.
Well, yeah, I think it's sort of of.
I'd say out of like 5, I'd probably give it 4 out of 5. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I have problems with it, but then to be honest, I have problems with like Rogue One, but I still enjoy the heck out of Rogue One. You know, it's also the middle film, so as you know, going back and watching the previous film after watching this one, I was like, oh, I had a certain amount of respect for things I overlooked in the previous film. So I'm hoping, you know, whenever we get 9. Things in 8 will be amplified more because of whatever happens next. You know, the same way as like Empire was deemed bad when it first came out by everybody, and then apart from the and the I am your father moment, and then like whenever Jedi came out, like more people started to go, Empire's really good. Not because it was always a good film, but like it just gets amplified.
But then that did continue when Phantom Menace came out. People went, God, I actually really like Return of the Jedi.
Hey, Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars film, like hands down.
I like it.
I had it. It was in my earliest Star Wars memories. I had a copy of Return of the Jedi that was recorded off TV that my auntie, whenever she looked after me, would just put on, and I loved it. Like I would watch that, like to the point where they had to go out and find a way to buy a copy of it because I just destroyed the tape. Like I watched the Ewoks cartoon. I watched the Droids cartoon.
Dengar Ewoks.
Return of the Jedi is, you know, I love Palpatine as a villain. Like but then again, I'm one of those weird people. Like people's like, who's your best movie villains of all time? And I'm like Emperor Palpatine and Skeletor from Masters of the Universe. Frank Langella is the best supervillain of all time.
Wow.
So yeah, that's my. And then A New Hope is my 2nd favorite Star Wars film, just to make that even more shocking for most people. And then Empire.
That's really weird because like Empire seems to generally be up the top. Sort of. I love that. You know, to be honest, the first film I remember is obviously Empire, and I just love the AT-ATs and stuff. I think that was for me as a kid. You know, this big battle scene was just, you know, something that did it for me. But Jedi was always a massive thing. I had the Ewok Village as a kid, and for some reason, I have no idea to this very day, I had a Wampa free with my Ewok Village. So I opened up my Ewok Village, and there was a Wampa inside, you know, eating Ewoks and stuff, and I was like, didn't really put 2 and 2 together. Just went, oh, cool, got a little monster thing I can play with my Ewoks and stuff.
On the topic of Star Wars, just a little quick thing. We're talking about Netflix, watching through stuff on that. I watched a documentary film that was made about Dave Prowse.
Yes, I'm your father.
It's really, really good. And Dave Prowse, I think he's a great actor, and I've actually watched other things he's been. I've watched like the TV shows he's done. I've obviously seen all the Green Cross Code Man adverts as well. But the guy, when I met the guy years ago, he was such a nice guy. He's a very humble person. But watching this film, I don't feel normally emotional when I watch documentaries or anything like that. But you know, you almost feel choked up for this guy because he got ripped off so badly.
Yeah,
he had so much fun to him.
Yeah,
but he loves the part, though. He loves the fan base. He still enjoys the attention he gets from it. And
he's banned from all
lovely guy.
Yeah. Banned from all Star Wars conventions, official ones. He can't go to them anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't allow him. And even worse now is that as of December, he no longer. Well, he said he isn't going to be making any more appearances at conventions because of his ill health, because of his age. And the guy is now in his 80s, and it's unbelievable. This person is, he's still around. He's still out there.
The weirdest part of watching that documentary as well is because he lives not too far from me.
Really? Right.
And the gym he goes to is at the bottom of my road. Just George's gym in Biggin Hill. And so like it was like weird watching that documentary, and then I was like, wait, that's the okay, we're going to George's gym, which is oddly enough, whenever I lost weight not too long ago, but whenever I was failing miserably at it, I joined the gym like 8-9 years ago. And George, who runs the gym, who in fact also is kind of famous in his own right because he's in Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No way!
To train with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So there's like, and he was like, "Oh, Dave Prowse is here." He goes, "You're a nerd. You like all that nerdy stuff." He goes, "Do you want to go around with Dave Prowse?" And I was like, "Uh-huh." Like, so I had to like help Dave Prowse like around the machines because he just had a stroke.
Why would you
at the
say
time.
no to that? There is no reason anyone would ever say no. That is great.
I got to do it like twice. Like George asked me to do it, and I'm like, here's like the fat guy taking Dave Prowse around. Like, I'm like, I weigh like 140 pounds more than like I weigh now. And I'm like taking like Dave Prowse around all these like machines, but like asking him various questions. And at the end of each time I did it, he gave me a signed like he had like signed cards in his back.
Oh man!
So he like signed
Seriously?
it and gave me it. And it was like, Dave Prowse is Darth Vader. And like I said, I've got like a pile of them hidden around somewhere of like various signed things from him. He was so sweet. Like
I've talked to him like I saw him at it was like a Star Wars sort of dinner thing, and they had like loads of people who from the films, and David Prowse was there, and I didn't realize, and I turned around and like literally behind me on the seat behind me was like David Prowse. I'm like, holy shit, Darth Vader's sitting behind me, and I'm just
it's insane because it's like him and Kenny Baker, like before Kenny Baker, but they were both like the nicest guys at any convention.
Oh yeah.
They just both seemed to genuinely love the fact they got to be in Star Wars, and that they would talk to anybody that had any questions about anything, and it was so nice because it was just like guys who normally wouldn't get that big of a deal, like I guess, made out of them because they were the guys inside of masks and inside of a trash can essentially. And just that documentary, if anybody hasn't seen it, is 100% worth watching. Although
amazing, absolutely amazing.
I'm very sad that we don't get to see what they shot.
Oh no, I know.
Yeah, this is good.
I was kind of hoping it might have leaked on YouTube or something. I
googled it right after.
I was like, I need to see that
and everything.
If anyone's not seen it, one of the big threads about this film is that the idea that the final scene, the final reveal when Darth Vader takes off his helmet in Return of the Jedi, is that it's obviously reveals his face for the first time. And Dave Prowse was basically kept away from the set that day. They basically fed him false information saying, oh no, nothing's happening here. And they had bodyguards all around the set to keep him away from the shot where Sebastian Shaw was basically Darth Vader.
Yeah, it was a bit of a dick move, wasn't it?
That was a massive dick move. So this guy just went, if I could make it so we could get you to redo this scene, if we could recreate and give you that moment, would you do it? He said yes. And so, unsurprisingly, Lucasfilm went, yeah, we know you've done this. We don't give a fuck. We're not going to let you show it. And they've done this one private screening. And apparently since then, it's never seen the light of day. Apparently, obviously, Dave Prowse has his own copy of it. And the guys who made this film have got their own copy. And apparently that is it. There's nothing else of this film out there. But I want to see this. I really want to see this so badly.
What really got me, what sort of upset me most about, it's called I Am Your Father, I think, the documentary.
Yeah.
And what really sort of kind of upset me was that he basically got stitched up. The reason he got banned and the reason Lucas got pissed off him because some of the people in the comments have asked, the reason he got sort of banned from the conventions now, and they got pissed off with him, was because they thought he had leaked the ending to the main thing in
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, where he starts saying, "I am your father," and it's just like not Empire Strikes Back. Sorry, I am your father, and he didn't. And the newspapers, they actually had one of the journalists, and the journalist said, yeah, he didn't tell us. It wasn't him. It was somebody else. Yeah. So basically somebody else has done it, and they've blamed him. And from that point on, he's literally just been shafted. Couldn't go to had to just go to normal conventions, has basically been ostracized from all Lucasfilm type events, and now Disney as well, and they still won't let up, even though there's people now saying that it wasn't him, he didn't do it.
it's insane. Like, especially because you sit there and go, like, because there's a bunch of people, like, I've seen comment before, like, about him not going to things like, oh, well, yeah, okay, it'd be cool to see Darth Vader, but, you know, most of the time they just want the guys nice. I'm like, Peter Mayhew's at everything. Like, he would, you know, you imagine watching those celebration things, like, here's Darth Vader coming up on stage. Hell, they brought Hayden bloody Christensen to those things. he did less acting, and you know, I do hope that it's a sad thing, but obviously, if in years to come that someone does have a look at that footage and there is a cut somewhere that Lucasfilm or someone just decides to not be a dick for, you know, 10 minutes and just goes, okay, we'll put it out online, or if they put it up online and just owned it.
I feel that's the fan edit everyone wants, not the misogynistic version of The Last Jedi, which is 40 minutes of bullshit. Cuts and whatnot. Yeah. What we need is that cut of just sort of like where it's the normal film, but at the bit where they're unmasking Vader, it's got David
my new way, I figure what we can do is that they'll still want to get George's approval on it, even though he's not really that involved anymore. Is what we do is we just go, we'll give you an extra musical number in one of the other films. Have it, and he'll jump on it.
I don't want this to sound terrible, but I have a feeling that if this clip was to ever come out, it would be after Dave Prowse has unfortunately left this mortal coil.
I think they would do that, wouldn't they?
That would be the ultimate dedication, I think. That would be the reason that they go, okay, yes, we now give you the permission to release this film. And I think that would probably have one of the biggest impacts in the Star Wars community. And it would hit a lot of people hard to see that.
But it's still annoying that, you know, like I said, you have people who are saying, like, it wasn't him, you know, he's swearing blind, he didn't do it. A lot of people are corroborating his story and saying he didn't do it, but it's the fact that nobody's listening, or, you know, the main people aren't listening, and it will take his death eventually for stuff like this to come out, as it always does. Oh, maybe we were wrong, maybe he didn't do it. Oh, let's like jump on the sad bandwagon and use it to spend a bit of money. It's annoying. This guy's life, you know, it's not ruined because he's obviously enjoying where he, you know, I've met him a few times and he's always being sort of, you know, happy enough where he is to talk and stuff, but, you know, he deserved more, he deserved better, and I think he was treated very badly.
If you get an actor who's had 3 films, they've portrayed this character, they've become one of the most iconic people in pop culture. First, they basically lied to him saying, oh, yes, we're not going to actually use your voice. We're going to get someone else to dub over your voice. And, okay, that was fair enough in the first place. But to steal the one moment that was going to reveal his face, the one that, I know it might sound a bit silly, but this could have actually helped his career. This could have been something that people go, oh, this is what this guy looks like. Oh, we'll be perfect for this film, or we'll be great for this film going forward. That could have done his career such a benefit. But no, they decided to take him out. They put in another actor who, Sebastian Shaw had a great career. If you look at his films, there was so much stuff. But he's actually said, for that 2 minutes he was in that movie, he's had more fan mail, he's had more positive reaction from that than any film he'd ever done before. And I think, don't get me wrong, Star Wars has that effect on anyone. You could be in like the background, like 10 feet away for 1 second, and you have a 1,000-page entry on Wikipedia. You'll be like a massive star on that side. You'll be going to all conventions the rest of your life. But Dave Prowse was Darth Vader. He was there every day. He'd done all his filming. He was in a suit where sometimes, apparently, he couldn't take it off throughout the day. He was in it for 14, 16, 18 hours a day. And that's massive commitment. This is the guy who was the real star of Star Wars. And I think it's the biggest injustice that he never got a proper recognition.
Yeah.
And still doesn't. You know, you look at like people today, like what was Megan Fox or whatever, and was it that terrible Turtles film where she talked shit about Michael Bay and Steven Spielberg and called Michael Bay like Hitler.
Yeah.
And then still got hired back for stuff
I know.
by him. And it's like people get away with ridiculous amounts more than, oh, he might have been the person who leaked it. I mean, there's a shit ton of people working on this movie. Also, he's not aware of what we're shooting, but he maybe leaked it, like, because he was a bit chatty a couple of times in interviews before we had PR people that told you not to through that shit.
We've got 1 minute. Sorry, we've got a load of comments. An amazing one for you, Julietta. Why is that lady blue? Is she a Smurf or something?
You are so correct. I am a Smurf.
Yes, she is definitely a Smurf. She is a Smurf. And Kappa Maru 78 said ostracized. That's a Greek word, and I said comes from ostraca, which was the bits of pottery they used to use when they went to sort of vote the ostracized people. History lesson, baby. There we go. Woohoo! Yeah. Right.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, you learn something new every day. And Connor Cantrell on YouTube has said, "Do you think that Han Solo film will be good?" So that's a good one.
God.
I heard they had to do a lot of reshoots. They had to do a lot of reshoots, didn't they? Because they thought it was going to turn out a bit too much like The Mask, or a bit too Jim Carrey.
And they're reshooting it again now as well.
They're reshooting again.
Apparently they're doing more reshoots for 3 or 4 weeks. Why though?
This is like the reshoots that normally happen on films, though, is at this point, which is usually we need cutaways of this, and this. We need, you know, like.
Are they going to do a Justice League? They're going to take off Lando's mustache or something.
Oh,
they're going to CGI it out.
Am I the only one who thinks this from the get-go, as soon as they went, we're going to make a Han Solo movie, made no sense to me as a fan? Because I'm going to be honest, like, you watch A New Hope, Han Solo is a dick in the first film. Like, he has a big character change in the film. He starts off as a selfish dick, and it isn't until the end where he comes back and helps, you know, destroy the Death Star. That's his redeeming thing, is this adventure with Luke. Before that, Luke's like, they're going to execute her. Better her than me. Like, she's rich. How rich? Like, he's just a selfish dick. And it's like, oh, but now we're going to make a prequel where he's going to be the hero. And we all know he's going to wind up looking like Mal Reynolds. Like, the whole way through this, where they're going to make him cool and fun. I'm like, my only hope for this is that he's a dick the whole film, and Lando is the likable one the whole time.
Yeah, he's got to be smooth, doesn't he?
Also, I want Lando to be the one that does the Kessel Run.
Yes, that would be amazing. It's all been a lie.
It's just the ship that did it. He's never said, I did the Kessel Run.
yeah, true. It's actually did it. It's the ship that did the Kessel Run. Yeah. All right, okay.
No, like, just play in on that and make Lando just slightly cooler, because all we've seen is Lando be a traitor, and then Lando blew up a Death Star. Oh, half a Death Star, I guess. Still, you know, Wedge helped.
Good old Wedge.
I genuinely don't know what to make of the Solo film, because I like Lando looks good, but the guy playing Han Solo just looks nothing like him. I really wish they had done and brought in, because he's an actual actor now, this guy who did
does all the impersonations.
He did impersonations, and
he's actually in a film. He's actually in a film with Harrison Ford as a young Harrison Ford.
He does a brilliant job in that too.
Yeah.
So I think we're talking about the same guy. I think he's playing the Joker in the Telltale Batman series.
All right, okay.
He's been pretty big recently, but yeah, he did like the guy who did the Robin Williams impressions and stuff. So you're thinking
he's amazing, so good, really good. Yeah. Okay, we've got another comment from Facebook saying, from Viveka Oddman, I'm loving the discussion and the difference of opinions. Well, you know, that's what you get. That's what you get. Yeah.
Everyone can be correct about Rogue One.
It's the best Star Wars film ever. God damn it. I fucking love that film. I've never loved the film so much in my entire life. I was
just going to keep making jabs at you.
Loved it. And you know, that just made me sad about you know, The Last Jedi. I'll not go into it, but it's just I was expecting something else. I'm so easily amused. I like, literally, I kind of liked Suicide Squad. I like stupid stuff, you know. I don't mind, you know, I'm not overly judgmental when it comes to films, but for some reason, Star Wars has this really high bar for me. And it's like, you know, because literally it's been my life for so long, and I have sort of preconceptions about certain things and how certain things should be done. And if they don't hit them, I'm just like, what the fuck is this shit! God damn. I swear to God, man, when I saw Princess Leia flying around like she's Mary Poppins, I was like, I'm fucking out. I'm out. What is this? Bollocks. I didn't hate it, alright? I didn't hate it. There's a lot of people moaning at me going, no, I didn't hate it. I liked it. It's good. And all the small parts, all the parts it has, the comedy's hilarious. You know, the acting's pretty good. The storyline itself is really good as well, but it just didn't seem to gel together for me, and I hated the fact that the comedy sort of took away the edge ever so slightly, and I think Luke became a bit more of a... I wouldn't mind a moody... morose sort of Luke who's been sort of jaded by life and everything going wrong. But
I would have liked more of Jedi Master Luke that you see, you know, later on in the badass
like,
shoulder brush Luke is my favorite Luke.
But I think they give him too much.
That was Luke Skywalker as Goku. That bit when you just had everything blast him, he just walks out the dust. That was just Goku moment. I love that.
That was Luke Skywalker as Mark Hamill. They basically just handed him a blank page and went, "This is the script. Do you?"
Kind of like watching Tron Legacy and like, oh, did we write anything for Jeff Bridges to do? He's just going to do whatever he wants. Yeah. Roll the camera at him.
I just think it's too much comedy, took the edge off it slightly for me, and I think that was my main...
Which is so weird from the guy who directed Looper, like the most boringly unfunny film of all time.
What's it, isn't it? But it's just like...
Just a bad film as well.
There was just parts in it which it just... I think, you know, I like a bit of comedy, and even like the old Star Wars films, you had bits of comedy, but they worked quite well. But this one, it just seemed like they were overdoing it, and it became more of a comedy than a serious film. There was quite a lot of dark edges and themes going through that film, and I thought, you know, Luke... milking whatever the fuck that thing was,
Christ,
and then
that thing that was a bit weird.
throwing the lightsaber away, and you know, stuff like that.
It's very much a film that it feels like the writing process of it was him going to Reddit and going, okay, what are the 3 things that fans want to know about? They want to know about this, they want to know about this, they want to know about this. Well, I'm going to take all 3 of those things and just throw them out the window. Just to say fuck you.
I like the fact that there were little bits in the film which sort of like gave you little tidbits about it. They show rather than tell. And rather than show, they did a little bit of telling, but they sort of like did it in such a way that it built up the mythos. Like, it didn't show the Knights of Ren, but it did give them a bit more of a backstory, because there is that one line about Luke saying after Ben sees him with the lightsaber, pulls the house down, and then runs away with 6 other students. So you can basically make that assumption that the Knights of Ren are the other Padawans.
Who never show up again.
Yeah.
Do you know what's really interesting? Like Mike Orvis in Pitch Please, which they have sent me their most recent episode that I haven't. I'm fucking chasing. They came to me, Matt. Can we do a podcast, and can you pay for it to go online? I was like, as long as you do it. And they're like, yeah, we'll do it. Did the first season, and now it's just like, oh, we haven't had time. I was like, come on, motherfuckers, get it done. But anyway,
this brings me, because I actually kind of want to go on it, because I want to.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the idea is amazing. They just need to get their fucking asses together and get it sorted. But they did one, and Mike did it with Ben, and it was an Obi-Wan Kenobi pitch for a film, and this was before The Last Jedi came out, and so we didn't know any of that stuff, you know, between Ben and Luke. And he was talking about basically, and you can listen to this podcast. I think it's season 1.5, because it was kind of in between when there was a bit of space. But he's talking about how Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's on Tatooine, and there's these people. He tries to train some young Padawans, try and bring the Order back again. And there's like a whole thing where they, you know, like the Amish, they go off into the world after they've learned, and, you know, if they come back, you know, that, you know, they can prove themselves and things. And there's a bit in it where he realizes that he's fucked them up so badly that he can't let them survive. And there's a thing where he has to kill them and stuff. And it was just like, wow, that was so... That's mad. But it's the same sort of principle as, you know, Luke in... The Last Jedi, where it's just like he is he is not going to turn out the way he should do. He's going to be evil. Therefore, I have to kill him. And it was just like that whole, where the good turns bad, but for the greater good, if you understand what I mean. Yeah, for the greater good and stuff. You have to do something horrible for the greater good of the Force, effectively. And it's quite, obviously I'm not explaining it very well. Listen to the podcast. But
I'm going to have to check this out because I have my own pitch for Obi-Wan as well, which is very different.
All right.
my one is basically a Western.
Really? All right, go on then.
Yeah.
Go on then. Give us a quick pitch on it.
So my idea is that Obi-Wan is on Tatooine, kind of losing the plot a bit because he's been on his own for so long, and he's kind of lost the will of wanting to do stuff. And this is where I bring Liam Neeson back in because I feel like he needs a fresh start. He's still getting Qui-Gon, still like the same way like Luke gets a little bit taunted by Yoda in The Last Jedi, I guess. Is that Qui-Gon's trying to help Obi-Wan do his thing. Obi-Wan doesn't want to listen anymore, and Obi-Wan kind of goes off the rails one night and goes into town and winds up in a skirmish. So rumor starts spreading throughout like Mos Eisley and like surrounding areas of a guy with a laser sword who caused some trouble, and then that feeds out to bounty hunters who are hunting Jedi, because obviously, that's what Vader wants, is to make sure all the Jedi are wiped out. So they show up and they try and track down the area, and they localize the area, and they take over the area that Toshi station's in, which is where it just so happens at that time they take all these hostages. One of them is Uncle Owen and little Luke.
Right.
So they hold it down and hold it ransom of like knowing, well, a Jedi is going to come save these people. Like if we do this, like they don't realize that they have the perfect bait trapped in there. And the idea is that Obi-Wan realizes that he has to do this thing. And the idea was to bring in another Jedi, like a Mace Windu like character. So you have the broken Jedi who's given up all of that so that Obi-Wan could see how far he could fall. That Qui-Gon reaches out to another one, and the two of them basically save the day, and then the ending would be the payoff of having a Jedi fight Vader on a Star Destroyer, so that you assume the Empire thinks they've killed the Jedi that was on Tatooine.
Right.
And Obi-Wan is still safely there, and then Uncle Owen banishes him from ever seeing Luke or being anywhere near him because of the danger that they got put in during this little misadventure. And my idea was that the guys who take it over, you'd bring in some characters from the Clone Wars, which would be Cad Bane, who was this really cool cowboy like bounty hunter.
Yeah.
They're like so that's the kind of basic general missing a whole chunk of shit in the middle description of it. But yeah, that's as simple as it gets.
There you go, your new fan film after this one succeeds, Gary. You move on to that shit. That's
just get my buddy Ewan on the phone. My buddy get the Neesons on the phone.
Well, Neeson wants to reprise his role, doesn't he?
I genuinely think though. I know they've said they're going to make it. If they don't bring Ewan McGregor back, it's a big injustice because he deserves to have a good film.
Big time.
He was working his ass off in 3 god-awful prequels. And like the third prequel is okay. It's the most watchable of all of them. But he's trying so damn hard, and I just want them to give him a shot at one good film. Like the same way as like Liam Neeson, I think deserves to be remembered for something more than The Phantom Menace. Because nothing is better than a film with Jedi lightsaber fights and the taxation of trade routes.
Do you know what? Phantom Menace, I think it's got some of the best lightsaber battles in any of the Star Wars.
Yes.
Love them. Love them.
It's amazing, that end fight sequence with Darth Maul.
Yeah, amazing. And Darth Maul's one of the best bad guys. I think he's amazing. I really enjoy him. Yeah.
If you see the Clone Wars, his character is brought out so much better, and he is given a real great conclusion to his character in Clone Wars. Not Clone Wars.
Rebels.
No, he was in Clone Wars, but Rebels as well. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So Dave Filoni is, I am going to say it, the unsung hero of the Star Wars franchise, because in Clone Wars and Rebels, his job is essentially to fix everything that George got wrong. But without saying I'm fixing it, but like coming up with clever ways to go, how are we going to avoid midichlorians? Well, we're going to do this. Like, how are we going to fix this? We're going to do that. Darth Maul, let's give him a proper thing. Okay, how did the clone army come to be? Well, let's explain that, because George didn't. So it's a great, like, it's if nobody's worth, because I think Clone Wars is on Netflix and whatnot, pretty much everywhere. It's 100% worth watching. Like, season 2 onward is great.
Is it
I
not on
love
Netflix? Is it not on Netflix anymore?
I don't know. I haven't seen it on Netflix.
Not UK one.
Boo.
I know it was for a while because they released like the unfinished episodes and whatnot. But it's definitely, if you can find a place to watch it, it's 100% worth checking. And Rebels is pretty good too.
I feel really bad because our resident Smurf has been sitting there very quietly.
Sorry.
We have literally just fanboyed about Star Wars for an hour and a half, and she's kind of going, yeah, whatever.
I'm the worst person possible because my brain is in Star Wars mode constantly at the moment. So,
Well, I wonder why.
it's because I've now reached 102% of my goal.
Yay! Man, congratulations.
I will say that while we were chatting, I did back it as well because I'd only heard about this a couple of days ago. I kept saying to myself, I've got to do it. But no, that's great news.
Cheers.
Brilliant, very good.
Were you the one?
I think I was before it reached 100.
Yeah,
I love it if I was the crossover.
Okay, Julietta, because you haven't talked a lot this podcast, is there anything you would like to talk? Is there anything you'd like to talk about right now?
Well, since we haven't really spoke about it much, how about we talk about Star Wars?
Well, you know.
No, in all fairness, like I have actually been listening now. I've been enjoying listening to it. I've actually been drawing while you've been talking, so
okay.
I might not have been talking,
Podcast.
but I've been kind of productive as well. So
What's she drawing?
ASMR.
What's she drawing?
yeah.
Is it a picture of Matt with a screwdriver?
And this is a Geek Pride.
Turn it into Matt with the
Scratching that
screwdriver.
beard.
A Geek Pride screwdriver for scratching beards, shanking people, and screwdriver and stuff.
Actually, I just want to recommend one other Netflix thing for people to check out if they haven't, which is The Toys That Made Us. Like, if you haven't watched that, that is an awesome show.
I watched that when I was ill. I just went through it. I was like, wow. It's something like if they made like 1 billion Star Wars toys, and if you melted down all the plastic, you would have a building that was bigger than the Empire State Building. No, you'd have a Wookiee that was bigger than the Empire State Building if you molded it. That's how much.
It's insane. Like, I watched it. Like, there's an episode of G.I. Joe. Like, obviously, like, G.I. Joe is a very American thing.
Yeah.
It's awesome. The Barbie episode is insane. Like, the dude who created Barbie, it's bananas. He built a castle that was like the Playboy Mansion. It's insane, like, hearing the stories of all these people. It's such an awesome show. And I think there's 4 more episodes that come out.
The He-Man one was quite good.
They just fly by the seat of their... It's such a... If you haven't watched it, like, 100%. It's informative and funny as hell as well. It's so good. Because the guys who will work with these toys don't give a shit anymore.
They really don't. But there's a lot of arguments over who created what and stuff. You know, it's like I created it. No, I created it. No, fuck
I created He-Man.
Yeah. But yeah. So what you drawing, Julietta? What you drawing?
I'll show you in a minute. I'm just finishing it up. You'll really appreciate the extra touches.
Sweet.
So I'll change my profile picture in a minute. So talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, brilliant! Can't wait.
Like we have been doing.
Yeah.
We've been seeing it silently for the past.
Amazing. But yeah, like Netflix for me, I've got Sky. I've got Sky in 3 rooms in my house, and I never watch it. Basically, I just on Netflix all the time. That's all I do. I watched the Star Wars Discovery, not Star Wars Discovery. That would have been Star Trek Discovery. That's quality. Loving. Fuck! What did I just watch recently? Love the Punisher. Thought that was quality.
Yeah, that's good.
It was really good. What's come out on Netflix recently? New Black Mirror was good, though not as dark as the other ones. Maybe a bit more positive, which wasn't a bad thing. I kind of liked the fact that they had.
Sorry, not as dark.
No,
there are some bleak episodes.
I know,
but there was a couple of like.
Yeah,
think that.
All right, I want you to think about it. Right,
was probably the brightest one out.
You got Callus, that was good, and they were aren't they thinking about doing an actual series with the Infinity?
Oh, that'd be so cool
with the Infinity spin-off. But yeah, no, it's positive in that the episode where the dating one, they get together and it's a sort of a positive thing. Yeah, then you got the one. Yeah,
that's very positive.
The bit at the end, defeat the robot dog, the heavy, what's it, Metalhead? I think it's called.
Metalhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of ends on a positive before it goes to a negative, though.
But yeah, it's more positive than it generally is. You know, I was trying to get my girlfriend to watch some, and she says, "This is really dark." I'm like, yeah. I really liked the museum one where they had the three.
That was
museum.
such a great tie together of everything.
Yeah, I love that.
That was nice. That one.
Yeah, it was a really good one.
It reminded me a lot of the White Christmas episode because it had a very similar theme to it, and there's some of the segments were quite at 99% the same.
Do you know what? You know that episode? It's from season 1, I think, where they got the implants in their eyes. They can sort of rewind
the
stuff.
grain.
Yeah, so I was sitting there with my missus and watching this and stuff. And afterwards, we had a bit of a Barney, as you do for unknown reasons. But then I was just like, fucking wish I had those eye things, man. And I would be all like, yeah, did you say that? Because I can rewind shit back and do this. And I was like, yeah, because that probably wouldn't work in my favor for other things than Matt's probably done, and would bite him on the ass. So that's like, yeah, probably best that you don't have those things around, But yeah. All right,
I wish I had that for San Diego, so I could recall anything that happened after
that. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
what an amazing place! Literally, I think about it and just go, I want to go back. Do you know what? I would think that I enjoyed San Diego more than I enjoyed Vegas. Now, Vegas was absolutely insane, but San Diego just had its own sort of level.
It had K.
Yeah, it did. It had K. But the thing is, like you said to me, as soon as you go to that convention, you just don't want to go to any other conventions. And honestly, I have had very little interest in any other convention afterwards. I've literally just gone, must go back.
Also, we did get to go to some insane parties with free bars. That did benefit.
Oh, mate, that was amazing. That free bar was just insane. I just remember sort of at the very end, and this is why I was single, by the way. Before I tell a story, Louise, if you're listening, I was single, and I was chatting up the barmaid because I found out she was going to Vegas the next day. I was like, I'm going to Vegas the next day. We should totally meet up. And she's like, go away from me, crazy drunk Irishman. I'm just like, yeah, we should totally hang out. Oh man, seriously, some serious characters. The whole thing was just it was an absolute romp. It was amazing. I loved it. So many fond memories. Like, I was looking through the photographs the other day, and I was just like, I totally miss it. What is that? What is that picture?
Well, it's my drawing with your head on it with a screwdriver scratching your nose.
No ways. Oh, so is that picture? Is it actually a drawing of you that you've done?
It's I've been drawing Widowmaker. Basically, I took a picture of me dressed as Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and then turned myself into Widowmaker. I'm just trying to, because I haven't got into drawing. Well, basically, as like many people will know, before I was a cosplayer, I have a degree in art and things like that, and I was really into my painting until that happened. Hated it. Kind of stepped away from art and thought, fuck this. So that's why I got into cosplay, and I'm kind of like trying to reteach myself how to paint again. So is this done on computer, or is this done by hand, or? Yeah, this is a digital painting. I mean, I've nearly finished it, so when I actually do, I'll post it on my page of what it originally looked like versus what it looks like now. Minus the screwdriver in your head. I mean, it does look beautiful, don't get me wrong.
Give Matt a copy of that, and then he can make it his new Twitter profile head.
Yeah. I'd probably do a better job, though. I just literally kind of cut and paste.
Oh man, one of my favorite artists, obviously apart from my sister who's amazeballs, but my second favorite artist in the world is a guy called Matt Dixon, and he does he does two types of things. He does sort of fantasy, women from fairy tales and things like that, but they're a bit more sort of kind of realistic and a bit more badass. And he does robots as well. And I've got Oh,
I have one of his prints.
Yeah, he's amazing. I've got 3 signed sort of like canvases he does, and he does all of his. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do it on pencil or paint or anything. It's all on the computer, and he's amazing. Such a lovely guy as well. He's at every convention. He's always at conventions. You find him. Matt Dixon, amazing artwork, so good, and an amazing guy as well. So yeah, check him out. But yeah. Okay, so it is, it's been about an hour and a half. We should probably wrap this up now. Thank you very much, everybody who has been commenting, especially you, Capamara78. Your constant banter throughout has been interesting. Thank you very much for Gary for jumping in today as well, and congratulations, my friend, for hitting your goal. That's amazing. I'm really happy for you. When do you think you will have it out by? When's the deadline, or when's the sort of ETA?
It's going to be some point in the next 3 or 4 months, but it's definitely one of those things I don't want to rush out. I want to make sure it's as good as it can be before I put it out to the world. So it'll be, as soon as I have a date, I'll post it up online. But at the moment, it's probably going to be about 3 months or 4 months before it comes out.
Well, cool. You still got another month on there for people to donate. So obviously, when people get paid and stuff, then definitely go for it. It's hit its target now, so it can only get better. Just bear in mind, don't hit that £50,000 mark, or it's no go. It's no go.
49,999 is amazing.
So it's no go. If you actually, just out of interest, if you actually got close to that amount, what would you be the big thing that you bought? What would you invested in?
A new identity.
I would. There's one perk I'm trying to work with at the moment has got a set of a Carillion freighter. And it's the cost of reassembling the whole thing is one of the big perk difficulties. So definitely stuff like that would be a.
You do know that the guys who do For the Love of Sci-Fi and The Love of the Force, they're based in Bowlers in Manchester, which is Trafford Park. They've got a cantina bar all set up there, which you could potentially use as a set. Maybe if you talk to those dudes. But it's
I may have to investigate that.
It's a full cantina bar, so like in Mos Eisley. So yeah,
all it costs is a cameo from Matt.
yeah.
See, I mean, at that point, I'll have to put a musical number in or something. Yell at the screen when I have some extra drool or something. Keep George happy.
Amazing. Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much for that. Thank everybody for watching. Who's going to be listening later on? Again, we're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Play. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, other places. And thank you very much. I've been Matt Geary. John Joe has been John Joe.
I have indeed.
Daniel has been Daniel.
Yes.
Julietta has been silent. We thought you might have been kidnapped by squirrels at one point in time. I was just expecting this meep, 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 and I was like, no, they got her.
They could have,
They could have, We were just bantering away about Star Wars, and you could have been getting hauled off by a bunch of squirrels while Josh is tied up in the corner with squirrel rope or something. Like,
could have been eaten alive for all you know.
You don't mess with squirrels, Morty.
And obviously, Gary has been Gary. Thank you very much, dude.
Thank you. It's been fun nerding out about Star Wars. At least I'm not nerding out to myself at the moment.
Thanks very much, guys, and good night.
Okay.
I think that is now stopped. No, it hasn't. People are just going to be, what's he doing now? He's just wrecked things. He's pressed the button and everything's frozen.